Whether you're concerned about keeping cold food preserved in power down situations, or you're going off-road and need to keep drinks and snacks cold, or you just want to keep your favorite libations chilly on a hot day, I got a pretty cool topic today. This is my trusty cooler. We've been through a lot, from picnics to hurricanes, but sadly, it's become more like a leaky, icy time bomb waiting to implode. Sure, it's got a lot of capacity, but to work at its peak, most of that space inside is taken up with ice. Ice that melts and makes a mess and has to be replenished. What if I can't get ice in an emergency, like a hurricane? Or if you're off the beaten path, it's pretty likely you won't find ice. So it's time for an upgrade. It's electric. Behold, the ICECO VL65 12-volt fridge freezer. This is like upgrading from a horse-drawn carriage to a Ferrari. It's like upgrading from a 1903 Wright Flyer to an F-22. It's like upgrading from a cooler to a fridge. I've been thinking about getting one of these for years, and spoiler alert, I love this thing. Overlanders figured out how awesome 12-volt refrigerators, did I just call it a refrigerator? Figured out how awesome 12-volt refrigerators were a long time ago. These folks know that when the going gets tough, the tough get refrigerated. Seriously, overlanders rely on 12-volt refrigerators to keep their nomadic lives well fed and their beverages frosty. But I think they have a lot of value for other circumstances as well. Let me go over the features. You have two zones. You can either use both of them as refrigerators, both as freezers, or you can use one side as a fridge and the other as a freezer, or you can leave one side off if you want. The hump here is where the compressor sits. On the ICECO, it has a 5-year warranty and the other parts have a 1-year warranty. The reasons I chose this particular model is 1, the size, and 2, I think it has a durable design. This one can hold up to 102 cans and 50 water bottles. It's actually 68.7 quarts of capacity.
I know some of you are wondering, and yes, it will hold 37 rolls of toilet tissue. Your mileage may vary.
I like the simplicity, like the metal exterior, metal lid locks, and the metal handles. Now, I know without a doubt whether the lid is open or closed when I walk away. There's no plastic catch to break or keep the lid partially open while the cold escapes. I also don't have to worry about chunky plastic handles breaking off, and bonus, these take up minimal space. You get a 12-volt power cord and a 120-volt power cord, so you can use it anywhere and you have power.
But Adam, you said this is great for power down situations.
Yeah, well, hold up, keyboard warriors. If you have a battery bank, or even better, a battery bank and a solar panel, AKA a solar generator, you can power this for days, weeks, or possibly indefinitely. You could also use a gas generator, or, and this is where the 12-volt power shines, you could use the 12-volt power port / cigarette lighter in your car. It has built-in battery protection, so it won't drain your vehicle's battery to the point where you won't be able to start your car. That versatility is what makes these so popular with overlanders. The ability to use your car for power means you've probably got a way to power it unless you don't have fuel in the tank. But I mean, at some point, listen folks, there ain't nothing I can do for you, son, okay? You gotta have some forethought. And I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you probably do. On the panel here, you can see that the temperature can be set for each side, hence dual zone. Or you can leave one side off if you don't want, to power both sides. You can also choose max or eco mode. That's gonna speed up or slow down the compressor. Now, when you first start it, you might wanna use max, and then once you fill it with the drinks or whatever, after it gets cool, then you can turn it to eco mode and save power. Next, you have battery protection mode, which you can set to low, medium, or high, and the instruction book will explain, pretty much how much voltage each setting ensures your battery remains at, so you can still start your car. The battery indicator on here is not an internal battery, although that's kind of confusing. It actually shows how much power is being used, and you can see right now it's being maxed out. We took this on a trip to the beach recently where it sat in the back of my truck on a 100-degree day under a black canopy and had no problem keeping the water, fried chicken, and saltwater taffy cool all day. My main purpose for having this was to have it available for emergencies like hurricanes or tropical storms. Admittedly, I love tech and gadgets, but I'm also about all the ways to provide energy or save energy in power down or off-grid situations. This requires much less power than a traditional fridge or a freezer in your pantry, so it can save you a considerable amount of money by keeping the contents of your fridge and freezer from going bad. I'm gonna plug this into my little 1,000 watt battery bank here. We'll turn that on, and then let's turn the refrigerator on and we'll see how much power it draws. I'm holding the lids open right now because I don't want the compressor to cut off. So right now we're pulling, it's kind of varying, but somewhere around 84 watts. That's what's cool about these little battery banks is you can kind of determine, you know, how many hours you've got. I've easily got at least 10 hours of runtime on this, and that's because right now I'm holding it open, so it's trying to cool. But what I want to find out is, so this is using the 120. What if I go to 12 volt? I want to see how much power it uses then. Now we're down to like 76 watts. Okay, let me switch this out. Let me turn this off. All right. I'm just gonna unplug the 120 and you can see you got a 15 amp fuse right there. And I'm gonna plug the 12 volt in down here on the bottom. The compressor's running. All right, and right now, let's see what it's pulling. It's pulling 60 watts. 66. We've gone from 88 watts to right now 60 watts. So that's just gonna give you longer run time when you're using a battery bank. Oh, we're down to 56 watts. We're down to 56 watts. 55. Of course, that's gonna vary a little bit, but I mean, easily I'm gonna get 24 hours runtime on that little battery bank with no solar power going into the battery bank. So you can imagine, you know, if you're pulling power from your car battery and starting your car every so often, this thing is kind of a game changer for emergencies. ICECO actually makes a slide that you can attach, you know, to the bed of your truck or the back of your Jeep, whatever. I may actually get one of those and attach it to my slide so that I don't have to operate the full slide. I can just pull the refrigerator out whenever I want. Let's talk about downsides, and really there aren't that many. The first one, obviously, you gotta have power for it, but I think we've already addressed that. It weighs, I think, 65 pounds, but honestly, that's not that much heavier than that cooler. The rotomolded coolers are pretty heavy when you get the bigger ones. And you got to put ice in them, so you kind of take that if you want to do an apples to apples comparison. In order to keep something cool, you got to have ice in them. You don't have to put ice in this. I guarantee you that cooler weighs more than this refrigerator once it's full of ice. The other thing is that you have to keep in mind, when you throw drinks in a cooler full of ice, they're going to start getting cold immediately. This, you're going to want to get this cold before you put the drinks in, and once you put drinks in it, if the drinks are not already cold, it's going to lower the temperature of this. That was something that I found out whenever we had a bunch of friends over, and I had this running, and I was like, oh, let me put the drinks in. And it took a couple hours for those drinks to get cold and for the temperature to drop back down. Like, I think I had this set at 36, and it probably went up to like 50 degrees, and it probably took about 2 hours to get back down to 36 degrees. But with a little bit of pre-planning, that's no problem. And the trade-off for the length of time that it keeps it cold, that's a winner for me. Now, I spoke about it briefly in the video, but if you want to see how I made this slide and drawers for the back of my pickup truck, check this video out right here, and I will see you next time.